Welcome to In the Cloud. In this video, we're going to look at how to create a simple S3 bucket and upload some files. So you can get to S3 via the Aws console, either searching for it at the top here or just clicking on it um, from the landing page. And you'll note that once this loads, you get given a list of existing buckets, their regions, so every bucket is actually hosted in a specific region, and whether it can be accessed publicly, and then a creation date. Bucket names are globally unique, so this means they have to be unique across the whole of AWS, just not just unique to your account or unique to the region. So you can't use the same bucket name that somebody else has used. So if we just click Create Bucket, and then we give our bucket, we get prompted to give our bucket a name. So we'll call it my AWS bucket. And this is going to be taken, but we'll try it anyway. And then we select a region. So you can select any region you want to. Typically, you'll choose one which is geographically closest to you. So you might want to, for example, choose let's say Singapore, and then the next option here is whether you want your bucket to be publicly accessible. You don't want this, but in almost every situation you don't want it to be publicly accessible. But if perhaps you're hosting a static S3 website, or there's some kind of object file that you wish to be accessible publicly, you can enable this. We'll leave it clicked as blocking all public access. Now I do have a video on hosting a static S3 website from an S3 bucket, which I'll link to in the description below. Next option, you have versioning. We'll look at this in a separate video, but effectively versioning means you can keep different versions of the objects that you upload to the bucket. Tags, you can give your bucket a tag. You can say environment, and you can say test. And then the encryption, there's options for different encryption here. SSE, S3, or KMS are options. Again, we're going to leave this one disabled. And then you click Create Bucket. Now, you see, it says that the bucket with the name already exists. So we have to think of a new bucket name. And we'll just call this an Amazon S3 bucket of my own. And we'll see if that one's taken. And there we go. Now I deliberately named this bucket with an A, so it'll be at the top of the list, but here we go. We have our bucket, an Amazon S3 bucket of my own. It's not publicly accessible. It's in Singapore, and then its creation date. So what we can do is, if we want to upload some files, we just click on the bucket name, and this will show the contents of our bucket. Currently, there are no objects. It's important to understand that S3 doesn't actually have files and directories. Everything is an object. There's an illusion of having a file structure, but effectively it's all just really part of the file of the object name. We'll demonstrate this in just a second. So we'll go and upload a file, and click by clicking upload, and then you click add files. And then we're going to go to AWS and click on Apple. We'll upload this Apple picture. We get given some more options here, but just click on upload. And then the upload successful, tells you the size of it. Click close, and then we can see on our S3 bucket now we have Apple. So you might want to perhaps move that Apple to a different folder. So we click on create folder. As I say, this is more of an illusion, but folder name, we'll call it images. We can't use slashes in the actual folder name, but because effectively if you use slashes, that would be creating a folder within a folder. All right, so server-side encryption we'll leave disabled. Click create folder, and there we go, we have Apple. Now, if you want to move Apple to the images folder, we just click on it, and we have actions. Now we can copy or move. We'll click move, and then ask you which bucket you want to move it to. Click browse S3, click images. That was the folder we just created. And then we have a few other options here in destination details, but we'll just leave these as the defaults, and we'll say move. We're going to move Apple. Right. And then that's been done. We've moved it. So if you go back up here, back to close that screen, and you can see our list of objects in the bucket. And now there's just images, but actually within there is the apple.jpg. Now, one other thing, you can also just upload an entire folder. So click on upload, click on add folder, and you can upload an entire folder like this test folder here. So we're just going to click on test. We've got an image in here. This is useful if perhaps you want to upload a bunch of photos, and it's just prompting you if you want to upload that. So within here, within the folder test, we have winter.jpg. Again, just accepting the defaults, click on upload, and then it's uploaded. And we've confirmed that we've uploaded winter in the folder test. As I say, don't forget these folders are really an illusion. It's really all part of the object name. So now we've got two folders, images and test. And in test, we've got the winter.jpg. And then in the images, we've got the Apple file object. If you want to look at some details of the object itself, you can click on it. Now, you do have a URL here. If it's not publicly accessible, you're not going to be able to view the image using that URL, but I'll just show you. We'll open it in a new tab, and then you get an error, basically access denied. And this is because it's not publicly accessible. If you actually if you would like to actually view the image itself, then you can do that. So what we'll do is we will click on open at the top, and this opens the image. Now you're probably asking, how come I can view it now but I couldn't view it before? Look, the URL is the same, but we've actually got a security token added here. So this basically gives us access to the file. Without that token, you wouldn't be able to view the file. And one other thing you can also do, obviously, is you can download. Click on download, and it downloads Apple. And you can also do this. You go back here, and you can do the same for any of these effectively. Click on images and test, actions, and then you can calculate total size. And then it's 96 kilobytes. And then just really one last thing is if you type in Aws S3 Pricing, and you click on here, this will basically brings you to the pricing of S3. Now it does depend on region, so you can see the price here. It's 2.3 cents per gigabyte per month if you're in Ohio. But for example, if you're in Singapore, it's 2.5 cents per gigabyte. So it does depend on where you're going to put it. You'll generally find places like the US will be cheaper. There will be more expensive places if you were to perhaps choose Sydney, similar to Singapore. It's not a big difference. It will add up if you're storing a lot of data. Obviously, the more you store, the cheaper it gets. You also note that there are different tiers here. So you have standard, you have intelligent tiering. And we'll go through these in a different video, but basically the cheapest you're going to get is if you move it to Glacier or Deep Glacier Archive. And these basically mean that you have a recovery time, so they're not immediately accessible. You actually have to make a retrieval request to get your data out of Glacier. But this is a good place perhaps to put data, which you might not use, for example, backups. And then Glacier Deep Archive is even a longer retrieval time. Again, good for backups. Maybe not so useful if you need to access your backup quickly, but it really depends on your use case. All right, that's pretty much it. If you did want to delete your bucket, you can do that. We can do it from, just go back to S3 again, and we'll go back to an Amazon S3 bucket of my own, and now you can click delete, but you won't be able to do that. See, the bucket is not empty, so you're gonna have to empty your bucket. So before you delete it, you click on empty, and then it'll ask you to type permanent delete, and that will just ensure that you know that you're deleting your bucket. It's deleted 3 objects, which is basically the directories and the files. We go back, exit here, and then we click on delete, and it will say delete the bucket, confirm into the bucket name, and just an Amazon S3 bucket of my own. Click delete bucket. Obviously, you can copy and paste that, and the bucket's gone. And that's all there is to it. It's pretty simple, really. It's a really great place. Even just using the console, you can use it as a backup mechanism for perhaps photos or what have you. And you know, maybe move them to Glacier or a cheaper storage option if it's something you're not going to use very often. I'll do a separate video on that. And yeah, but thank you very much for watching. Thank you.